Invincible is still one of the best currently running TV shows. And now that season 4 has wrapped up, let's rank each of the episodes on this tier list. Starting with, of course, episode 1, Making the World a Better Place. As an introductory episode to a brand new season, I have to say this is the best episode 1 of the entire series outside of the pilot. It's the perfect jumping off point between the devastating finale of season 3 and the new plot points of season 4. The cold open is a dreary sight, as we see Earth recover from the Invincibles' invasion and from conquest. We see some superheroes mourn their losses, and other ones step up to the plate to fight more villains, including the friggin' boss baby, who I was pretty sure was dead last season. And the state of the world impacts Mark's storyline for this season. Mark is feeling a ton of guilt over everything that happened. All the Invincibles causing chaos, his fight with Conquest, Eve getting hurt, and Mark's failure to act on some of it. So Mark is beating himself up, trying to make up for his mistakes. The boy is working night and day, trying to stop any threat that comes up. He's beginning to question his relationship with Eve, thinking that them being together is gonna get her hurt, which, speaking of, I'm really glad they changed the scene from the comics. Eve's dad said some much creepier stuff here.
So I never really got how important fragility is to a woman. Men like to feel like they're breaking new ground.
Jeez.
They want to be the teachers. They want to be in charge. Hard to do that.
There's no, what the f am I reading?
Hard to do that. There's no corner left unexplored, right?
Why the fuck would he say that?
The comics are out of pocket for that, but thankfully the show was a lot more tame. But most importantly, Mark is grappling with the fact that he might have to be okay with killing to protect people in the future. Which segues to the episode's major plotline. The Sequid invasion that has been teased since the second season has finally begun. And this is a pretty good event for the opening episode of the season. It has reasonably high stakes with the Sequids threatening the entirety of the Earth. It continues current character conflicts with Robot now listening to the team leader and doing his own thing. And of course, the episode ends with Mark doing something drastic to stop the invasion and to save the world.
I'm sorry.
Yep, Mark just fully killed that innocent guy. This season's starting off crazy. This is in direct contrast to how Mark would have acted in prior seasons, and this is the perfect way to end the episode and to continue Mark's personal story for the rest of the season. The episode does a solid job at setting up other plot lines as well. Universa makes her introduction, and she's voiced by Denai Guerrera from The Walking Dead, another Walking Dead to Invincible actor. Conquest breaks free from Cecil's cage, and Cecil proves yet again that he's the dumbest man alive. Debbie and Paul are still a thing. They're getting all kinds of freaky. Dinosaurus makes his first appearance in the show, and while he doesn't look quite as cool as he does in the comics, he was still a cool villain. And Oliver is a teenager now, so he's doing teenager things. I don't have very many issues with this first episode. My only issues are with the show as a whole. The animation still ain't great. I mean, it's fine, it's not the worst thing in the world, but after the Conquest fight at the end of season 3, I hoped that we would see more of that going forward, and we just didn't. Either they need more animators, or they just need to give the animators more time to work on the show, because his animation really is just not cutting it anymore. But still, overall, episode 1, Making the World a Better Place, is a great beginning to this season, with a very impactful ending, even if it did end with a CinemaSins sound effect. It's going in A tier. Episode 2, I'll Give You the Grand Tour. This episode is a fun adventure starring the two best characters of Invincible, Omni-Man and Alan the Alien, as they traverse the universe looking for weapons to kill Viltrumites. And this is an exceptional episode of Invincible because it gives important background information and character development to Nolan. The beginning portion is a flashback where we see how the Scourge virus wiped out the Viltrum Empire, killing all but 50 Viltrumites. And this story gives us so much information about Nolan and his upbringing, and we see it's normal for Viltrumite parents to beat the ever-loving snot out of their kids. Good lord. I guess that explains the Omni-Man and Invincible fight from the first season. Wait, why is Squidward there?
I'm ready when you are.
This opening explains where Omni-Man's intense loyalties came from. After the attack, he dedicated his life to the remaining Viltrum Empire, to the cause. Also, it's crazy how much young Nolan looks like Mark. Like, that man is the father. But in the present day, Nolan is forced to confront his terrible deeds, and reckon with the fact that the cause he once fought for was only making the universe worse. It's a great personal arc for this episode, and J.K. Simmons delivers yet another brilliant vocal performance. As far as the adventure goes, this episode fits an entertaining formula. Alan and Nolan go to a planet to retrieve an an item, a person, or a creature. They succeed in retrieving it. Alan and his girlfriend get freaky while Nolan has to hear it, and rinse and repeat. This formula allows for tons of action and humor. The space racer fight is funny, and introduces the absolutely broken laser gun that the devs need to patch. And there's of course the Ragnar fight. This fight does feel repetitive at times, because they would get away, then they're grabbed by the Ragnars, and then they get away again, and then they're grabbed again. I don't know, it wasn't the most creative fight in the world. And the ending to the episode is pretty crazy, where Optimus Prime Viltrumite reveals that he created the Scourge virus, and he's got himself another bottle of it. Surely that won't be important later. Episode 2, I'll Give You the Grand Tour, is a great episode of this show. It's not the most complex at all, but it has strong character stories, and it's pretty funny.
I've slept in far worse places than...
And the opening Viltrumite story is ridiculously well done. It's going in S tier. Episode 3, I Gotta Get Some Air. This is a solid episode of the show, but it's also kind of messy. This episode mostly deals with the fallout of the season premiere. Mark is struggling with the fact that he had to kill an innocent man. Eve is trying to figure out why her powers aren't working. The Guardians of the Globe are adjusting to their new circumstances. And Oliver is still trying his best to help out. The character side of this episode is the strongest part about it. Mark having serious issues with his more violent Viltrumite side results in him nearly killing another villain who puts Oliver in danger. Eve finds out she's pregnant, which is the cause of her powers being all out of whack. Holy crap, what a cliffhanger. God only knows what that baby could be.
Now you shall shrivel into dust and disappear forever.
And Rex gets a good amount of character development here as well. We're seeing the beginning of his ego and his turn to evil. Rex is so upset with the fact that he wasn't made leader of the Guardians of the Globe, that he took charge during the Flaxland invasion, marooning himself and Monster Girl on the other side of the portal. Surely that's not going to result in any issues down the line. But these character stories are weighed down by that stupid crime subplot that is this show's herpes. No matter how much you want it to go away, it just never will. The Titan storyline is so damn boring. I don't care about the crime world of the Invincible universe. I don't care about Titan or his family, and I also don't care about Machine Head, who I mistakenly called Radiohead in my season 3 ranking last year. You guys really let me have it that time. But I get it though, he's not Radiohead. Or is he? But I'm a creep. But this crime subplot leads to some of the worst episodes of the entire show, and it only distracts from the actual good plot lines and good characters. And we get yet again another terrible dragon fight with awful animation. Oliver, look out, that PNG is right behind you! I really don't have much to say about episode 3, I Gotta Get Some Air, because it itself doesn't have much to say. It follows up the character stories from the premiere, and it has some mid plot points, and that's about it. So episode 3 is going in C tier. Episode 4, Herm. I'm gonna be completely honest. This very well may be the worst episode of Invincible ever made. Goodness gracious, it just isn't very good at all. So instead of continuing the plot and the character stories, this episode puts everything on hold for a side quest into hell. Damien Darkblood recruits Invincible to help him and Satan fight this fire lady and reclaim hell. My biggest issue isn't even that it completely pauses the main story and all the character arcs. My biggest issue is that this story is terribly done. Damien Darkblood was pretty cool in season 1, but here he's just a bumbling fool who can't do anything for himself, and he just says Herm over and over. Herm. The villain of the episode is incredibly generic and not at all interesting. She's a fire person who wants to kill all the non-fire people. How thrilling. Bruce Campbell voices Satan, and while it's cool that Bruce Campbell is on the show, the whole Satan is actually a good guy thing is just so boring and played out. Also, the humor in the episode is freaking awful. Now, humor is subjective, and of course I'm sure some people find this episode to be a riot. I just wanted to turn the episode off with all its horrible bits and poorly timed nothing burger jokes. And then there's the final fight that is oh so terrible. The Fire Lady has been shown to be extremely powerful, killing Damien's allies with ease. But at the end, Invincible punches her like 3 times and then she just gives up.
You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
I was in shock that this is what they decided to do. We could have had a really cool fight, but no, we get a quirky haha scene instead. I vehemently despise just about every aspect of this episode. Although we do at least get to the end of the episode where Nolan and Alan come back to Earth. At least there's hope that the show will get better after this horrible episode. Also, they recast William this season, and the new voice actor hits like a flashbang.
It's gonna be the most gorgeous superpowered super baby ever. Congratulations!
Episode 4, Herm, is the worst this show has to offer, and I'm just gonna pretend it never happened going forward. But for now, it's going in D tier. Episode 5, Give Us a Moment. This is a phenomenal episode. It both sets up for the rest of the season, and on its own, it's just very gut-wrenching. You see what I did there? But episode 5 is both fantastic at giving us good, quieter character moments and some absolutely fantastic action. So let's talk about the first half first. This is very much a calm before the storm type of episode. Nolan makes his return to Earth and goes on an apology tour. He apologizes to Mark, who couldn't really care less. He apologizes to Art, who's just flat out terrified of Nolan and only pretends to be cool with him. And he tries to apologize to Debbie. And this is one powerful scene. Debbie emotionally does to Nolan what Nolan physically did to Mark. This is the crash out we've all been expecting, saying how much Nolan hurt her and Mark and everyone else on Earth, how she felt betrayed, how she felt dehumanized by him calling her a pet, and Sandra Oh's vocal performance is something to behold. She gives everything to this scene and it's so damn good, and all Nolan can do is sit there and take it. There is some discussion online if Debbie will eventually get back together with Nolan, and while that happened in the comics, as of now it's unclear if that will happen in the show, but I think this scene leaves the door open for Nolan to try harder to win her back, or for her to never fully forgive him. Other characters get solid moments here too. Mark and Eve have their final night together for a while. Oliver is upset that Nolan didn't come to see him, which leads to him joining the war with Mark. The Grayson family has a nice little dinner together, and Mark does the meme.
How do we breathe in space?
That's the neat thing.
Also, Alan the alien very easily recruits Tech Jacket, and okay, let's talk about Tech Jacket. A big subject of discussion because yes, she was gender swapped. As someone who hasn't read that far into the Invincible comics, I really don't care that Tech Jacket is now a girl, because his version of her is a lot of fun. She has some funny moments, she has a lot of chemistry with Alan, and I'm excited to see her in future episodes. But if you're someone who's a big fan of comic Tech Jacket, I can see how you would be upset about this change. I don't think this hurts the story or the show in any way, because this is simply a new version of the character, but still, I understand. Alright, now it's time to talk about the space stuff, and holy crap! The Conquest Fight 2 Electric Boogaloo is exceptional. Conquest, Lucan, and this NASCAR-loving Viltrumite versus Nolan, Mark, Oliver, Alan, and Tech Jacket is a fantastic fight. There's some great character work with Conquest taunting the hell out of the Graysons. Jeffrey Dean Morgan once again kills it in this role, and Conquest is once again a straight-up menace. And the Invincible versus Conquest fight perfectly shows Mark's new perspective. He will protect his family no matter what. Mark strangles Conquest to death, and Conquest definitely doesn't do anything about it.
Up, and look, here it comes. It's almost like going to the hairdresser, isn't it? That nice fringe.
Invincible has always been a gory show, but the main character having his guts slowly ripped out is just something else. And I imagine everyone had the same reaction to this scene.
What are we watching? Glee?
Episode 5 is freaking insane. It's so well crafted. And it also has good animation sometimes. I guess they only break this out when Conquest shows up. Episode 5, Give Us a Moment, is going in S tier. Episode 6, You Look Horrible. Oh boy, as a direct follow-up to the previous episode, this is pretty solid. It has loads of action and plenty of cool moments, but it also pushes the story forward in a very satisfying way. And it also delivers solid character development that's a direct follow-up from character work done in the previous season. Let's first talk about the Mark, Oliver, and Nolan plotline. After Conquest turned Mark inside out, he's unconscious and recovering. So over the course of 2 months, Nolan and Oliver have to take care of him, which is rich for storytelling. This is where Oliver finally confronts Nolan about everything. Through taking care of Mark, these two hash things out and come to understand one another. Nolan realizes he has to become a better father for Oliver, even if the boy has just the weirdest taste in women.
It had this tank full of lobsters. There was one in there that was beautiful.
Nolan also learns to value life a little more, and he learns it from Oliver, who gained this character trait in the prior season. It's a pretty cool storytelling arc there, but once Mark wakes up and has the worst beard you've ever seen,
What the hell is even that?
all three of them rejoin the main story of the episode, which, speaking of, the Viltrumite War has officially begun. We see many scenes of Alan, Tech Jacket, Space Racer, and Battle Beast fighting across the galaxy. And while the action certainly can be fun, it is kinda lame how as soon as Conquest died, the animation went right back to normal. A lot of discussion around this episode is aimed at the animation, and while it's not any worse than it's been for the past couple seasons, it's still not any better, which is a real shame because the episode ends with a big action set piece. It has cool moments for sure, like Thetis taking off his robes and being a big buff Viltrumite guy. Crazy what being half naked could do.
So, nudity makes you stronger on this planet.
This episode also has something else that was super controversial when it first aired, and that of course is the introduction of the main villain, Grand Regent Thragg. People said he was kind of a lame villain based on this episode. They didn't like his design, his lack of aura, or the voice actor. And I thought people were freaking nuts. Does he look odd at some angles? Sure. But the show as a whole has animation issues, as we've mentioned. But he is a big, imposing figure and his voice is phenomenal. I think people expected him to have a very generic, boring, deep, rough voice, which is not at all what Lee Pace did. He has a much calmer demeanor. His voice just oozes command and confidence. It made a very interesting choice for a lead villain who could have wound up generic and boring. All in all, despite some really heavy animation issues, episode 6, You Look Terrible, is a great episode with some cool story moments. It's going in A tier. Episode 7, Don't Do Anything Rash. This episode is nearly all action with very little character work, so let's jump right into the action. Yeah, the action was pretty fun. The animation wasn't as polished as the 2 Conquest episodes. I guess it really did only up the budget whenever he's on screen. I mean, people have spotted disappearing Viltrumites in a frame where Mark turns into whoever the hell this is.
Wait a minute!
Seriously, they need to hire more animators or give them more time. This is just brutal. But this episode appropriately showcased the menace that is Thragg. I mean, the demon frame, the wind-up punch, him killing Thetis. Everything this man does in this episode is flat out insane. And there are plenty of other cool moments too, like Alan fisting this Viltrumite.
Oh yeah!
But like I said earlier, the episode is lacking in character work. Pretty much none of the main characters get stuff here, which I found to be pretty disappointing. I mean, there was almost something with Nolan during his conversations with Thragg, but he was basically just echoing the same sentiments he had in prior episodes. Episode 7 does have bigger macro story moments, like Mark, Nolan, and Thetis destroying Viltrum, or like I mentioned earlier, Thragg killing Thetis, but other than that, there's really not much story in the present. Because in the past, we get a flashback to explain Thragg's character, and there's a lot here to appreciate. We fully understand Thragg thanks to this flashback. We see that Argol told Thragg that if he thinks Thetis is a threat, then he should kill him. But Thragg doesn't. He shows weakness. Mercy. So after Thetis kills Argol, Thragg now only leads through strength, and he begins the purge where all the Viltrumites just start killing each other. I mean, this is brutal, idiotic nonsense, and it's all because Thragg feels so much guilt over his failures to act. But Thragg also carries a deep love for his species. He even says that he feels sad whenever a Viltrumite dies, and that being the reason he spares Mark and Nolan makes him endlessly compelling. And Lee Pace is just so unbelievably excellent here. Overall, episode 7 is a solid episode. Not the best episode, and I think it represents a lot of the season's major issues, but it's still pretty damn good. It's going in A tier. But before we move on, I just want to say, if you're enjoying this video, why not hit that subscribe button? We're literally about to hit 100,000 subscribers. So if you want to see more of my content, make sure you hit subscribe. But now, it's time for Episode 8, Don't Leave Me Hanging Here. This is a very interesting season finale, because even though there aren't any huge action sequences or fight scenes, it remains completely tense all throughout. Mark, Nolan, and Tech Jacket rush back to Earth, and it's fine. There's no Viltrumite invasion, no destruction, nothing bad. But even so, Mark is constantly haunted by the thought of Thragg and the other Viltrumites going to Earth and claiming their revenge. He keeps having these PTSD-induced hallucinations, where he sees Thragg or Anissa killing everyone, including Debbie, Eve, and Cecil. These scenes are actually horrifying and create this really uneasy feeling of dread. We as the audience are placed into Mark's shoes, and we feel his anxiety over the impending arrival of Thragg. He eventually does show up, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first I want to talk about the other fantastic things we get this episode. We find out that Debbie and Paul broke up. Sorry to all the Pebby truthers out there. Is it Pebby? Or is it Doll? I don't know anything about ship names. Alan takes over Thetis' role, and he's struggling with the weight of that responsibility. And in a postpartum message, Thetis tells Alan to release the Scourge virus. So I'm guessing we're gonna see an Alan villain arc next season. Nolan and Debbie have another big scene together, and this was pretty controversial. A lot of people really do not like the fact that it for sure seems like Debbie will get back together with Nolan. And they also don't like that Nolan seemingly weaponizes Debbie's beliefs of redemption and rehabilitation. But I disagree. I don't think that's what's happening here. While Nolan does bring up the fact that Debbie believes in those things, he isn't being forceful or demanding. He's merely showing that in those 20 years, he was listening to Debbie. He was her actual husband, and he actually did care. I thought that was a pretty great scene. And Debbie going into space with Nolan to go and see Oliver is right in line with her character. And I imagine her and Nolan will have some amazing scenes together next season. Mark debriefs Cecil about the war and has another one of his PTSD episodes right in front of him. Mark actually asks Cecil for help. He requests a mental health professional. And this scene scene is kinda odd, but also kinda good, because while I think it makes sense for Mark to eventually come back to trusting Cecil after season 3, it doesn't make sense after Mark found out that Conquest was alive. Cecil absolutely fumbled Conquest, and lied to Mark's face saying that he was dead, but Mark doesn't bring it up at all. Now, I could see a reality where Mark simply doesn't really care anymore because Conquest is now dead, but Conquest didn't die for nothing. He put some serious hurt on Mark, and I think Mark would be pissed at Cecil for letting that happen. But then we get the best aspect of this episode, the reunion between Mark and Eve. Okay, let's get it out of the way. Yes, Eve is thick now. We can all rejoice that they made thick Adam Eve real.
This right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long. I stay awake, not sleeping, because I'm thinking about this.
But in all seriousness, Mark and Eve has some really heavy scenes that I'm not gonna make light of. Eve revealing to Mark that she had an abortion hits like an absolute truck. It's heartbreaking seeing these two break down over their different traumatic events they went through over the 10 months. But through the tears and the despair, they come closer together. They solidify their bond. Mark is so afraid that his life will end up hurting Eve, but she assures him that she will always be there, and that they'll get through everything together. I was really scratching my head trying to figure out what Mark's character arc was for this season, and in this last episode, it dawned on me. His arc this season is about growing up, and like all adults, he can no longer lean on the comfort of his parents. He now has to lean on the comfort of Eve, his significant other. Mark and Eve are one of the best superhero couples of all time, and their ending for this season is tragic, powerful, and also beautiful. But now I think it's time to talk about the Viltrumite twist at the end of the episode.
Today, I'm going to be day drinking and smoking cigarettes in a public park at 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Crazy twist reveal that the Viltrumites are already on Earth, living among them, including General Thragg, who's just living the life, smoking cigarettes, driving on motorcycles, and doinking chicks. And Mark having to make the decision to let the Viltrumites stay there is such a huge character moment for the end of the season, and I absolutely cannot wait to see where season 5 goes. Overall, episode 8, Don't Leave Me Hanging Here, is a fantastic end to a fantastic season. I still think the show needs improvements, mainly in the animation department, but the story of Invincible, the voice actors, and things like that are still so excellent. And despite some minor issues I had, episode 8 is going in S tier. And that's my ranking for season 4 of Invincible. Make sure to leave your ranking down in the comments, and also check out this video here.